The trailer for the fifth season of Stranger Things begins by showing us the Hawkins Public Library, which is also the town hall. This is the spot where, at the end of the fourth season, the largest portal to the Upside Down formed, destroying part of the building. And this place is highly symbolic for the entire series, not just because it's in the very center of Hawkins, meaning Vecna struck the very heart of our world, shattering its normal existence, but also because this is where, at the end of the first season, Hopper and Joyce found the abducted Will Byers. He was bound by vines with a tendril in his mouth, connecting him to the Upside Down. Barb was also found there, although in Nancy's visions we saw her in the pool. That was just Nancy's last memory of her. Her body was actually in the library. And it seems this is where Vecna originally created a kind of nest where all the abducted children were taken. It was here that the Demogorgon brought Will where Vecna was already waiting for him. Will's actual entry into the Upside Down was likely shown in this shot. It looks very similar to what we saw in the fourth season when Eleven opened the portal in the Hawkins lab and sent one to conquer new worlds. Although some people somehow managed to see Holly here, and it's true that Vecna will be hunting her in the fifth season, but honestly, it's impossible to make anyone out from this extreme long shot. Still, it resembles how characters enter the Upside Down, whether it's Will, Barb, or Holly. You have to agree, the shots are identical in meaning, but slightly different visually. Eleven sent one into Dimension X, not to be confused with the Upside Down, which is characterized by a dark yellow color palette. Here we see a body flying into a landscape with the same floating rocks, but the color resembles the Upside Down in red and blue tones. Most likely, this is how Will entered the Upside Down. Will wasn't actually abducted by the Demogorgon, but by Vecna himself. First of all, the silhouette in this shot clearly isn't a 3-meter-tall creature with a flower in a head. And the second argument is that Demogorgons don't have telekinetic abilities, at least not that we've been shown in this series. Yes, they can jump and fight, but use telekinesis? No. And who has that power? Of course, Vecna, who can move objects and open doors with the power of his mind. The first season of Stranger Things is essentially a self-contained story with a beginning, a development, and a very clear, well-crafted ending with Eleven's sacrifice. At that time, neither the Duffer Brothers nor the streaming platform itself imagined the show would become a phenomenal success. That's why they had to continue developing the story, complicating every detail. And it was only at the end of season 4 that we learned about number 1. Before that, the kids were always fighting the Mind Flayer in its various physical forms. On one hand, this kind of plot twist changes the entire structure of the series. On the other, it creates a trap for the writers and plot holes that we as fans try to fit into some crazy theories. And here, this theory works well because of the blurry dark shot with that unclear silhouette. But obviously, in the first season, they were creating the main evil in the form of the Demogorgon. Otherwise, what was the point of that final battle with Eleven? And this shot should have been him. But most likely the Duffer Brothers will explain the moment of Will's disappearance in the fifth season, where Vecna will play the main role in his abduction. After all, we're clearly going back to the past, where they'll show us what really happened to the younger Byers in the Upside Down. And this first shot of the trailer could be referring to the first season. This might be where they show us the first meeting between Vecna and Will, after the Demogorgon, jumping after him through the tree branches, catches him and brings him to his master. Here we can clearly see Vecna's original form before the kids scorched him. His visual appearance at the beginning of the trailer and at the end is clearly different. But most importantly, his voiceover line, "At last we can begin."
At long last.
This clearly hints that Will wasn't abducted for no reason. Both Vecna and the Mind Flayer planned for him to be their conduit or spy in our world, which is what they showed us in the second season. And the consequences of the exorcism already led us to the events of the third season and the Flush Monster. And he might be saying this line to Will during their first meeting, after which we see him parting the vines and someone or something is clearly laying in the center of the frame. And it's most likely little Will from the first season. Then we're shown the destroyed Hawkins again set to the Queen song Who Wants to Live Forever, which was released in 1986, matching the timeline of the final season. This is a deep philosophical reflection on love, mortality, and the burden of eternal life. The song's main question, who wants to live forever, is rhetorical. The composition portrays eternal life not as a gift, but as a curse, dooming one to endless loneliness and the pain of losing loved ones, which is what we see throughout Stranger Things as the main characters lose their loved ones, friends, and themselves. The key line of this song, "Who dares to love forever when love must die?" emphasizes that true, deep love is only possible when accepting its fragility and finitude. And this fits well with all the romantic storylines in the series. The main part of the trailer opens with the scene of Dustin, in his new look, riding his beloved bike to school. Notice that after the quarantine was imposed in Hawkins, the military had to close off the town and set up checkpoints at its entrances and exits, and there are even soldiers near the school and inside it. You can see them here and here, as well as in the background of the scene with Dustin, who is clearly still carrying the pain of losing his friend. Look how other students shy away from him as he walks down the hall expressionlessly, not paying attention to anyone. Most likely in this scene from the first 5 minutes of Season 5, which should be shown on Stranger Things Day, November 6th, those testosterone-fueled jocks from the Tybers will corner Dustin for his new outfit and his friendship with the Satanist, Eddie, and give him a serious beating. Next, we're shown drone shots of the destroyed center of Hawkins. Here you can see that the military has covered the rift itself with steel plates, creating a kind of sarcophagus to somehow stop the Upside Down from bleeding into our world. We also see that the military has set up barracks, created a helipad, and fenced off the city center. The Hawkins Library itself has been fortified with walls and has an opening where we can see the red glow of the Upside Down. At some point, Vecna and the Demogorgons will destroy these fortifications, and all sorts of creatures will once again pour into our world. In the extended version of the conversation between Eleven and Mike, we hear Elle tell him that what's happening is not like any Dungeons & Dragons campaign, and that you can't write your own ending here. This is real life, and the real feeling of death.
This isn't like one of your campaigns. You don't get to write the ending. Not this time.
As you know, the events of Stranger Things are closely intertwined with the tabletop game D&D, where you and your friends collaboratively create the story of the world, the characters in it, and the plot of your campaign. As you remember from the first season, Mike was the dungeon master, and he was the one who created interesting plots for their hours-long games, and he always had the final say. But in this scene, Elle for some reason decides to reveal the truth to Mike. Not that he thought they were all in a game, and the series finale would be them finishing another session. No, the Duffer Brothers themselves debunked that in an interview. Elle is hinting at this too.
You don't get to write the ending. Not this time.
Next, we're shown that it's easier for the kids to draw an association with the game, gave the monsters similar names, explained the existence of the Upside Down, and of course translate their new plan into the plot of a tabletop game, which clearly contradicts Eleven's words in the background. That famous scene in the woods where the original four have gathered to discuss their new mission, which is called Catastrophe Day. On the map, we see markings for the center of Hawkins, the water tower, Hawkins Memorial Hospital where Max is, and other known locations. Mike places figurines, one of which clearly resembles a paladin, matching his own role. The second figurine is possibly a ranger, which corresponds to Lucas's role. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. And they clearly want to infiltrate the military base in the center of Hawkins. And while the guys are bonding and celebrating in the background that they're all together again, like in the good old days saving Hawkins, Will is clearly drawn to something above and follows it, mesmerized. Perhaps it's his usual vision of the other world, or maybe he's just hearing Vecna's voice, warning him of his arrival, or that he's still waiting for him for their main mission to destroy this world. And finally, we see Mike in a leadership role, directing everyone and proposing his plan to find Vecna. But how will they defeat him? Most likely, part of the answer lies in Nancy's words, who says that to defeat him, they need to get rid of all the suffering within each of them.
He's planning to end our world. And he's not gonna stop until we're drained of every last ounce of suffering.
As we know from Season 4, these are the feelings Vecna feeds on, growing stronger and stronger. But this is also his weakness, which stems from his childhood, and therefore Nancy's phrase can be interpreted in different ways. What if they just need to humanize Vecna and free him from the influence of the Mind Flayer? Vecna's main goal is for his new perfect dimension, where he's king and god, to consume this disgusting world of ours, which he has hated since childhood. Or at least that's what the Mind Flayer made him believe when he first entered Dimension X. But how to stop him when the stakes get higher every day and the suffering only increases? In the voiceover, Mike says that they're stuck here forever and that he sees no end to this torment. But if they get one single chance, they have to take it.
Being stuck in here, no end in sight. Maybe tonight is our break. We find Vecna, we end this once and for all, together.
And most likely throughout the first part of the 5th season, the main bait to lure out the missing Vecna will be Will, who has a direct connection to Vecna and the Mind Flare. Will is Vecna's key to destroying our world. In that case, Will is not just a puppet in the hands of the main antagonists, but the true villain of this series. He just doesn't know it yet. Otherwise, why would such powerful beings as the Mind Flare and Vecna need an ordinary boy from a small provincial town? Perhaps there is a power hidden within him that will help Vecna carry out his plan.
And the kids will have to convince Will to make contact with the Scorched One to find out for sure about his plans and how they can use it to their advantage in the future. Perhaps at some point, Will lose control of his mind, and thus they will provoke Vecna to come out of his hiding place and attack the center of Hawkins, where an ambush is already prepared. But of course, this plan looks so-so. We see that they will be up against heavily armed soldiers led by Dr. K, but apparently at some point, they'll be distracted by demogorgons pouring out of the portal and will switch their focus to them. And at some point, Vecna will appear, kill them all, and finally reach a powerless Will. As we can see, neither Joyce, nor Mike, nor Jonathan, nor the other kids are around. Perhaps this will be the kids' goal, to deliver Will directly to Vecna, where he will offer Will to join him again one last time.
William, you are going to help me. One last time.
And Vecna doesn't call him by his full name, William, by accident. He knows Will dislikes his nickname. And something tells me this is far from the final battle of the first part. Otherwise, why would they spoil such a plot twist right in the trailer? Next, we're shown Eleven and Hopper beginning their mission in the Upside Down. From various parts of the trailer and teaser, we can piece together a small recap of this storyline. Elle will start training to use her abilities to their fullest potential, first and foremost to jump high and confidently. Then she and Hopper will enter the Upside Down, most likely to find some secret laboratory run by Dr. K. We see this lab in these shots, a rather impressive and guarded facility. But why do they need to go there? Most likely to extract some secret information about the scientists' work on the other side. Perhaps the American military, like the Russians, decided to study this dimension and its inhabitants more seriously, to then grow their own demogorgons and use them as weapons in the Cold War with the Soviet Union, which was in the spirit of the times. And this base is very reminiscent of similar facilities for studying something extraterrestrial. From the promo shots of the 5th season, we've already seen that Elle and Hopper will eventually manage to reach one of the scientists, but what he will tell them remains a question. Probably one of the most interesting shots in the 5th season trailer of Stranger Things was some kind of energy pulse emanating from the roof of the Hawkins lab. And most likely, this is directly related to the fact that it was Eleven who opened the portal to Dimension X and sent One there, and then by touching the Demogorgon in the void, she initiated the conjunction of these two worlds, the Upside Down and our world. It is in the Hawkins lab that the connection between these two dimensions is maintained, which, upon conjoining, can eject bursts of energy into the atmosphere. We have always been shown the Hawkins lab only from our side. We have never seen what is on the other side. This is what Nancy, Jonathan, Steve, and Dustin will be finding out, who are standing in front of the entrance to this lab in this shot from the previous teaser. Later in the trailer, we see that it is Nancy and Jonathan who will climb up to witness the energy release firsthand, which could possibly lead to the merging or consumption of these two dimensions later on. Most likely, these releases will become more and more frequent, and the kids will somehow have to stop the merging of these two dimensions.
From the new shots we haven't seen before, an extended scene of Lucas in the tunnel where he is attacked by a Demogorgon. A scene where he is trying to get Max out of the hospital, which is being attacked by demo dogs. It's curious that he even brought a Walkman with him. Holly running to Karen after they are attacked by Demogorgons. Robin and Murray watching as the Upside Down begins to bleed into our world right under the radio station. Elle, Joyce, and most likely Hopper descending into a tunnel. And of course, the epic battle between the Demogorgons and the military is worth a separate watch. Although, is it just me, or is the Demogorgon animation missing some frames?
And that's it for today. Make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. See y'all later.